Ewell's Corps arrives, Rhodes assaults. 11th Corps arrives, routed, retreats. Location:
Towering 1.3 miles northwest of Gettysburg's heart, Oak Hill, marked by the Eternal Light Peace Memorial, reigns as the battlefield's third highest point.
This northern segment of Oak Ridge stretches southward, offering a panoramic canvas for observation and artillery control.
Nearby landmarks include Mummasburg Road, leading southeast, McPherson's Ridge to the southwest, and the sprawling Seminary Ridge extending towards Peach Orchard and the iconic Round Tops.
Barlow's Knoll, marking Early's clash with the 11th Corps, lies just over a mile east.
The strategic significance of Oak Hill is undeniable, as demonstrated by General Ewell's 2nd Corps, poised to vie for control of this elevated vantage point. This key location witnessed critical actions and serves as a poignant reminder of the struggle for dominance during the Battle of Gettysburg. On the 10th of June, Lee ordered Ewell to proceed into the Shenandoah Valley.
Lee chose Ewell's own corps to lead the Army of Northern Virginia's advance into Pennsylvania, because that command contained most of the veterans of Jackson's 1862 Valley Campaign, men who knew the region they were marching into.
Earlier that day, General Ewell was heading southwest from Carlisle toward Cashtown, with the 2nd Corps divisions commanded by Major General Robert Rhodes and Major General Jubal Early. Then word arrived of the fighting at Gettysburg. Ewell immediately changed direction and began marching south toward Gettysburg. Ewell's 2nd Corps was tasked with moving north and seizing high ground on the Union right flank, particularly Cemetery Hill. Securing this position could have significantly disadvantaged the Union for the rest of the battle.
Rhodes' movement.
The Confederate reinforcements arrived just before noon during a midday lull after morning fighting west of the town in two prongs on July 1, 1863.
General Rhodes, said to be sick with a fever or suffering from a severe hangover, led his division from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, a first wave of 5 brigades, totaling 8,000 soldiers, veered off from their path before reaching Gettysburg and marched down Oak Ridge instead. Their mission: to dislodge Union forces from the strategic terrain and connect with Hill's corps.
Lieutenant Colonel Carter's artillery battalion accompanied them, securing the wooded crest before the Union's 11th Corps could take position. On June 28, General Early's division seized York. Here, his ransom demands of $100,000 in supplies were partially met, including $28,000 in cash. York thus became the largest northern town to fall to the rebels during the war. 3 days later, 4 brigades of 5,500 soldiers under Early followed Harrisburg Road south, setting up camp north of Barlow's Knoll across Rock Creek. Union scouts promptly detected both Confederate movements. Later that day, Ewell's remaining division under Major General Johnson joined the fray, further bolstering the Confederate presence on the battlefield. This multi-pronged arrival set the stage for a day of intense clashes and maneuvering for control of key positions.
Lieutenant General Ewell and his 2nd Corps.
General Ewell's ascension to lieutenant general on May 23, 1863, following the tragic loss of Stonewall Jackson, cast a long shadow on the Army of Northern Virginia. General Lee's reorganization of the Army of Northern Virginia from 2 to 3 corps, with both Ewell and Hill previously reporting to Jackson, spoke to Ewell's experience and military background honed at West Point. Major General Rhodes and his division. A maverick among Confederates, General Rhodes made his mark at Chancellorsville with a surprise assault that routed the Union's 11th Corps. This audacious maneuver, a key factor in the South's victory, offered a glimpse into what would unfold on the first day of Gettysburg.
Howard takes command.
The Union forces scrambled to reorganize amidst the chaos of the first day's clash. General Doubleday's 1st Corps adjusted its lines to accommodate arriving reinforcements, with Wainwright's Corps artillery and 2 brigades from Rowley's division bolstering their ranks. Simultaneously, the 11th Corps arriving before noon via Taneytown and Emmitsburg roads added further strength. Faced with the tragic news of General Reynolds' death at 11:30, Major General Howard ascended to leadership of the entire left wing. This meant distance from his own 11th Corps, but held an unwavering determination to hold their position despite the gravity of the situation.
The Union machine, though shaken, was quickly adapting to the evolving battlefield realities, determined to protect the Baltimore Pike and the direct path to Washington, D.C. 11th Corps history.
The 11th Corps, comprised primarily of German-American immigrants, carried a complex history into the Battle of Gettysburg. Led by General Howard after replacing the inept German-American General Sigel in April 1863, the 11th Corps faced internal tensions. Howard, deemed a biblical soldier by many, struggled to gain the full trust of his troops. Furthermore, the Corps bore the brunt of criticism for the Union's defeat at Chancellorsville, where Stonewall Jackson's flank attack tore through their lines. This perceived failure, often unfairly attributed to the German soldiers themselves, fueled a deep desire for redemption at Gettysburg.
Thus, the 11th Corps entered the battle not only determined to defend their ground, but also eager to prove their valor and silence their critics.
Their fight at Gettysburg would be one of both duty and personal vindication.
11th Corps arrival.
Arriving at Gettysburg on July 1, 1863, the 11th Corps, with 9,000 soldiers, immediately found itself embroiled in the fray. Messengers rushed out, pleading for reinforcements from the 3rd and 12th Corps. The 3rd Division under Schurz was dispatched north to Oak Ridge to join the 1st Corps right flank under Robinson. Meanwhile, Barlow's 1st Division hurried to support Schurz, and Steinwehr's 2nd Division held position on Cemetery Hill with artillery as a fallback, a pre-arranged decision with General Reynolds.
However, tactical challenges mounted swiftly.
Rodes' Confederate division secured Oak Hill before Schurz, forcing the 11th Corps into exposed positions north of town. Outnumbered 5,600 deployed soldiers to Rodes' and Early's combined 13,500, the 11th Corps lacked terrain advantage, occupying open ground with little cover. Additionally, a gap between the 11th and 1st Corps presented a vulnerability exploited by Rodes' attacks. Further complicating matters, Barlow's deviation from his assigned position to gain high ground on Blocker's Knoll left Schurz exposed on both flanks. Spread thin across the north, the 11th Corps desperately awaited the arrival of the 12th Corps via the Baltimore Pike, clinging to hope for relief amidst the unfolding chaos.
Rodes' failed first attack.
Around 1400, Rodes' first attack on July 1 at Gettysburg was a chaotic and ultimately unsuccessful affair. Dense smoke from heavy artillery fire obscured the battlefield, making coordination difficult. His en echelon plan aimed to exploit the gap between the Union 1st and 11th Corps, but communication breakdowns and poor execution doomed it from the start. Dole's brigade acted as a flank guard, awaiting Early's arrival, and Daniel's brigade moved south towards the Chambersburg Pike, while O'Neill and Iverson launched the main attack. O'Neill only had 3 of his 5 regiments, with 2 of them filling gaps between Dole's and Daniel's brigade. O'Neill's attack on the Union right flank was prematurely executed with poor coordination and suffered heavy casualties against Baxter's veteran brigade.
Iverson sent his men forward blindly into the woods north of town, unaware of hidden Union troops.
His brigade suffered devastating losses, with over 900 casualties out of 1,400, leading to the grim image of Iverson's pits littered with fallen soldiers.
Both O'Neill and Iverson displayed poor leadership, staying in the rear and failing to connect with their men.
Additionally, the best Confederate brigade under Ramseur was not even deployed. Ultimately, Rodes' first attack failed due to a combination of unclear orders, poor communication, lack of adherence to the plan, and ineffective leadership. This initial setback foreshadowed the complexities and challenges that awaited both sides in the days to come at Gettysburg.
Renewed attack in the afternoon.
The afternoon of July 1st saw a renewed Confederate push at Gettysburg. Prior to 1600, Ramseur's brigade, pulled out of reserve, outflanked Union troops under Paul on Mummasburg Road. Simultaneously, Dole's brigade targeted the 11th Corps' left flank, while Daniel's brigade aimed for Oak Ridge. This coordinated assault overwhelmed the Union line on Oak Ridge, forcing them to retreat. To cap it off, Early's division crossed Rock Creek, flanking and further pressuring the 11th Corps, ultimately forcing their withdrawal. This Confederate success hinged on Early's coordinated flanking maneuvers, mirroring a similar attack launched by Heath and Pender's division against the 1st Corps on the western side of the battlefield around the same time.
Union retreat.
As Confederate assaults intensified, Custer's brigade from Steinwehr's division offered temporary support before becoming a rearguard during the inevitable Union retreat.
Custer suffered huge losses, losing 62% of his 922-man brigade.
Both 1st and 11th Corps lines crumbled, the 1st just minutes before the 11th. 11th Corps, facing crossfire and Early's flanking maneuvers, retreated in chaos towards town, mirroring their experience at Chancellorsville. Brigadier General Barlow was wounded and captured by Early's division. 1st Corps made a fighting withdrawal through town, many unsure of their destination. Baxter's brigade, exhausted and ammo depleted, pulled back to Seminary Ridge, while Paul's held a crucial position, despite suffering heavy casualties, including Paul's own blindness. The 16th Maine, ordered to hold Oak Ridge at any cost, suffered immense losses, their flag torn and sword broken as symbols of defiance. Panic gripped Gettysburg civilians as the Union retreated to the fortified Cemetery Hill. During the chaotic retreat through town, Brigadier General Schimmelpfennig sought refuge in a culvert on Baltimore Street.
For several days afterward, he remained hidden, either in a shed or possibly even a garbage heap.
News media seized on Schimmelpfennig's experience, portraying it as yet another instance of cowardice among German soldiers. Captain Ersch from the 45th New York receiving the Medal of Honor for his valiant defense during the retreat. The Union 11th Corps suffered 3,200 casualties, 1,400 of them as prisoners.
My personal takeaways.
The analysis of Day 1 at Gettysburg highlights several key lessons.
Firstly, the importance of coordinated attacks versus uncoordinated ones is apparent. While Rodes's first attempt with its en-echelon plan held potential, communication breakdowns doomed it.
Conversely, his second attack, utilizing experienced leaders and coordinating with Early's division, achieved substantial success. Secondly, the lack of competent leadership on both sides played a significant role. The lack of unity and competent command under O'Neill and Iverson proved disastrous. Lost massive amount of combat effectiveness due to poor leadership. Both failed to lead their brigades effectively, leaving them vulnerable and disorganized, resulting in heavy casualties. Iverson's poor reconnaissance led his men directly into deadly Union fire at close range, highlighting a disregard for basic tactical practices. His personal background, with rumors of gaining command through political connections rather than merit, likely further eroded trust and respect among his troops. Similarly, O'Neill, lacking any prior military experience, compounded the issue. As a leading secessionist politician, he stepped into a demanding military role without the necessary skills and knowledge, exacerbating the chaos and contributing to the Confederate setback. Howard, on the Union side, spread his forces too thin and left a vulnerable gap, resulting in a chaotic retreat.
These examples underscored the importance of strong leadership in ensuring coordinated and effective action.
Finally, the delaying actions by the 1st and 11th Corps, despite their ultimate retreat, proved crucial.
By inflicting heavy losses on the Confederates, they prevented them from mounting a potent attack on Cemetery Hill before nightfall.
This bought valuable time for the Union to solidify their defenses, protect the Baltimore Pike en route to Washington, D.C., and prepare for the upcoming battles.
In conclusion, the first day of Gettysburg serves as a stark reminder of the detrimental effects of poor communication, incompetent leadership, and strategic oversights. It also emphasizes the importance of delaying actions and creating opportunities for regrouping and strengthening defensive positions. These lessons learned in the blood and chaos of day, one would undoubtedly impact the fate of the entire battle and shape the course of the Civil War.